The funny thing about that is, if you think about the way Americans pronounce French words, you think like Notre Dame, right? So if you think about Notre Dame, it's going to be, Myotra will be pronounced myoder, like Notre, myoder. And actually that's pretty good too, for reasons we'll go into at the moment. But that's where the name came from. Well, what is the actual consulting suggestion? What Derrida says in Politics of Friendship is the politics of hospitality is based on the idea of the gift. And in a way, it's just as extreme as Prisoner's Dilemma. And that is, instead of first strike where you kill all your enemies, what you have to imagine, the impossibility, as he says himself, the impossibility of the politics of the other is that you have to open your home completely to the other. You let the stranger in and without obligation, and if they want to steal you blind, so be it. That's the risk you take, but you have to be open. You let the other in. You welcome the other. Well, that's impossible, but it shows us our border. It shows us maybe a different route, a different direction to take. So the basis of the FRE consultation, Miami River, is to play host to the Haitians in the case of that immediate. In case of that immediate policy problem, how should we treat the Haitians? Should we, should we run them out? Should we exclude them? Should we impound them? Should we put them in relocation centers and ship them back? Or should we welcome them? And we might say, well, isn't this the sort of underlying philosophy of the United States to welcome people? Well, yeah, maybe. But in any case, we're saying specifically in this case, this is the kind of politics that we are suggesting would be the beginning of solving not just the Haitian issue in Miami, but to rethink the whole politics, the whole ethics of the Miami situation in a quantum way in terms of the politics of hospitality. And so that would be kind of practical advice that would follow from Barbara Jo asking her burning question in 1998, as she tried to do a maestry for the FRE in Miami River.
That's great. Couple things. Heidegger's the second wave of entombment, of dread. You didn't say specifically what that was. Was that? Well, where did that come from? The first was the Greeks, kind of.
Yeah, there were two. Yeah. The two attunements are, and the difference is the move from ancient to modern world. So in terms of Heidegger's dread, the reason why we have dread is because we live in an alienated world. As the Greeks were not alienated in Heidegger's theory. The Greeks had direct experience of the world. They didn't have a philosophy or a religion of revelation, but they had an experience of direct contact. And in fact, Aristotle's notion of substance and of essence is based on the idea that it's quite possible for the human mind to have direct experience of nature, so that I could look at the world and pick out which features of a thing were essential to it and which were not, and that would be true. It would be possible to know the truth in that way. Christian civilization comes in between us and the Greeks. Christian civilization, Christianity is a religion of revelation, which is to say that God is in between me and the world, and the world. The workings of the world are secret. I don't know them, or I'm only given to know what's revealed to me. So this revealed religion is an obstacle. But of course, more importantly, it wasn't that was the big problem for Heidegger, but it was modernization in terms of the Industrial Revolution. The whole alienation from nature comes through the modernization of the world, the modernity of the world, which loses the whole enchanted nature of experience, which was the wonder of the Greeks, and replaces it by empirical, positivistic, industrial, commodified existence. And then the only thing to know about the world, the fundamental aporia of existence, is that I'm going to die. That's the truth. And so I have a being towards death, and the ordinary citizen does everything he or she can to avoid that knowledge. Which is why people behave in the way that they do, because they think that they're going to gain something. They think there's something to be gained. But Heidegger's point of view is there's nothing to be gained because you die. So why are you behaving in such a horrible way? So, but anyway, but he had this idea of attunement, and this is where this is a new metaphysics, really. I mean, he talked about the closure of Western metaphysics, but from the point of view of electracy, there's no closure of metaphysics. There's a change in metaphysics. I mean, to look at it in terms of the apparatus, we'd say, well, oral peoples told stories, literate people told stories, electrate people are going to tell stories. Oral people had problems they wanted to solve, literate people had problems they wanted to solve, electrate people are going to have problems they want to solve. It's just that they're going to do that in a different way. There's going to be different forms, but this is not a trivial thing. It's not like, oh, I prefer the novel to epics. No, I mean, the novel is different from the epic, but it's different in a fundamental way. It represents a different sensibility, a different consciousness, a different understanding of the world, a different understanding of what it is to be a human being. It is all wrapped up in the difference between the epic and the novel. And so what we're saying is that we don't have yet for electracy, we don't have the novel, we don't have philosophy, we don't have the concept, let's say we don't have the metaphysics, we don't have the category system, we don't have the politics, we don't have hardly any, if any at all, of the features of the new apparatus. These are emerging slowly. The new apparatus started, we'll say, from the date of the invention of photography in the early 19th century. That would be sort of like, in terms of, say, literacy, starts from when the Greeks get the alphabet from the Phoenicians or make their improvements on the alphabet. But then all these other, they didn't have philosophy right away, or in the print era, we got print, but you didn't get the novel, you didn't get the essay, for a while. It took a while, and similarly, we're in that kind of a situation. So there has to be this process of invention. But what we're inventing with is the idea is, well, the first step would be to say, how does the image work? How does it work? How does it mean? How does it organize the world? How can we think by means of images? This is a very difficult question to answer because you have to keep in mind, W.J.T. Mitchell pointed this out, is Western civilization is fundamentally iconoclastic, as we're fundamentally anti-iconic. We're a civilization against images. And our religions, our science, we haven't liked images. There's a whole set of binary oppositions, that go back to the classical Greeks that prefer mind over body, reason over emotion, analysis over story, and word over picture, word over image. We're very suspicious of the picture. We're very suspicious of the image. And so what we're going to have to do, and this is what's going to be difficult, and this is why electracy is depicted as the society of the spectacle. The reason why it's depicted as the Matrix, with these monsters, sucking the blood out of human beings, is because, there's going to be some really fundamental changes that take place within electracy. It's not determined what these are going to be, other than the fact that there will be these changes. And they remain to be invented, but we're not going to experience the world in the same way. We're not going to have the same kind of politics, the same kind of values, the same kind of behaviors. So, so there is a lot at stake in these changes. The FRE, through the development of choreography, testimonial, the emergency, is we want to participate in the invention of a very productive relationship to the new apparatus, so that it will serve the interests of the people that are using it. So it can not inhibit, but it can actually promote behaviors that are in the best interest of the people using it, rather than destructive of their world. That's our utopian goal, perhaps.
Roland Barthes at S&Z, you want to talk a little bit about the soothsayer and that sort of thing?
Yeah. Divination, the thing about divination sometimes, part of the ethics of what we were doing was we were taking into account what we were discovering through our own theories, which is that as we encountered the Haitians in the Tay area, that